Okay, so we are now recording the conversation, and you should, I'm hoping, that you are able to see the intro slide, the Texas DCS all hands call for this month. So as we get started, I'm going to take you through the agenda, what we're going to talk about today. Always just want to reiterate that this call is an opportunity for you guys, as information is presented, for you guys to ask questions, to share feedback, and to really have sort of an open forum. We will have an official time at the very end that's called open forum, but please don't hesitate to ask questions throughout the presentation. I would, in order to keep things going and flowing and to keep the recording working well as possible, I would ask that during the presentation you ask questions via the chat feature in the WebEx box. If you, for some reason, aren't on a WebEx, then just speak up. But if at all possible, until we get to the open forum, if you could ask your questions, any clarifying remarks or suggestions via the chat box, I will refer back to that chat feature several times throughout the presentation and address things as they come. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to take you through the agenda. First, going to talk about the state threat assessment that we currently have. We've got a couple of different active areas of weather within the tropics that we need to discuss and sort of see whether or not they pose a threat to Texas and some of the steps that we're taking in advance of those. Then I'm going to talk about our new disaster field supply center that opened recently in North Texas. Then I'm going to give you some information regarding disaster training and where we currently stand on that. Some of this information is on the exchange, but I've also had some conversations with some of our national training folks, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page regarding disaster training. Then talk a little bit about a monthly sheltering conference call that's available at the national level that I want to make sure everyone has access to, those that are interested. Then we're going to go through program updates. And then we'll round it out with the National Max Care exercise. Julia Daly, our State Relations Director, had a conflict at 10 o'clock, but she should be joining us at 10:30. If she's on the call as we get to the National Max Care exercise, then we will go to her for a little bit of an update, talk about the National Max Care exercise, as well as some updates regarding where we stand with our division capability work groups. And then we'll close it out with an open forum. So again, want to encourage you guys to, as we're going through this, to ask questions, seek feedback. This is, again, a call that's designed to just share information regarding the direction of the overall organization. And so if you have questions, please ask them. So first thing with our threat assessment, we've got out in the Atlantic Ocean, we've got Tropical Storm Edouard. This storm, as you can see from the graphic, is not a threat to Texas or any the United States in general. We're expecting it to turn more to the north about Monday or Tuesday, and then head out, and stay really at open sea. So this system is not a threat. None of the models are really showing it a potential threat at all. So we're not too concerned about Tropical Storm Edouard at this point. The area of disturbed weather that is somewhat concerning is Invest 92, and Invest is basically a term used for an area of investigation. It's an area of disturbed weather in the tropics that has the potential to become a tropical depression, storm, or hurricane. So an Invest is sort of that lowest ranking level when it comes to talking about tropical storms. Right now, their Invest 92 is over the southern Florida area, and it's over the southern Florida area, and it is expected to move into the Gulf of Mexico over the next, enter the Gulf of Mexico, ideally most likely within 12 hours or so. Where it goes from there is up to different forecasting models. The National Hurricane Center will issue their official forecasting track when a storm becomes a tropical depression or greater. So you saw that on the previous graphic. That was the on Tropical Storm Edouard. That was the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. This is basically just all the different tracking models and forecast models that come into play. Some models are more are better than others, but as you can see here, we've got models that are really all across the board. But what is consistent is that an area of disturbed weather will enter the Gulf of Mexico in the next 12 hours, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on and track. As you do see, there are a number of paths that do lead the system towards Texas. There's also a number of paths that leads it and goes out of the Gulf of Mexico and then takes an abrupt turn towards Louisiana. And so this is something that we'll have to continue to monitor closely. And I'll talk a little bit here in a moment once we talk about some of the intensity models, what some of the steps that we're taking within the state of Texas in advance of the system. So as of right now, this system is not a tropical depression, and it is not known whether it will be a tropical depression or not. There are a wide variety of variables that are at play that it comes to figure out whether a system is going to become a tropical depression, storm, or hurricane. Now, looking at the intensity models, this is the latest intensity models that have come out for Invest 92. The green represents tropical storm intensity. The yellow represents the initial category 1 of a hurricane intensity, and the white represents nothing. It's maybe a tropical depression, or it just fizzles out and really becomes nothing at all. So you can see we've got a number of models that predict that the system will become nothing at all. It will basically stay a couple of rain showers in the Gulf of Mexico. We have another set of models that are really showing some strengthening occurring up to tropical depression, tropical storm strength, and then some outliers that show the system will become a category 1 hurricane. Those are, again, the outliers. At this point, for readiness standpoint, because we don't want to be caught off guard and we don't want to be behind the 8 ball, in the state of Texas in the Swarm Division, we are making some planning assumptions that we could potentially be impacted by a tropical storm. Those are really our planning assumptions. So the steps that we're taking right now is we're currently working with the regions in the state of Texas to identify shortfalls, identify leadership that are available, identify shortfalls, so that we can be as prepared as possible. One thing that I am a little bit concerned about is those of us who are in the state right now know that we had a cold front that has either already come through your area or is coming through your area, and that is leading to rainfall, in some areas heavy, leading to flash flood warnings. We're also expecting that to intensify and occur over the weekend down along the Gulf Coast area, down along the Corpus Christi, the South Texas areas. So the concerning point from this system is not a storm surge system, it's not a wind system, but it has potential to be a heavy rain system. And if our ground is already saturated from heavy rain over this weekend, then there is the potential for flooding. We all know that the tropical systems can really unleash a really significant amount of rainfall over a short time period in an inland area. So what we're doing right now is we're identifying shortfalls, leadership shortfalls, general staff shortfalls within our regions, and really ensuring that the regions are aware and ready should something occur. The time frame that we're looking on this, again, if it occurs, and I want to use the word very clearly here, is that this is not definite. Again, you can see from the intensity models that this system could turn out to be nothing at all. But as you know, we can't make that sort of assumption. We've got to sort of plan for something to happen so we can be as prepared as possible. So we're going to be hosting a call with some of the regional leadership today, this afternoon, that talks about where we are on our readiness and what we stand to, how we stand to plan and things of that nature. So just an FYI, we're going to keep monitoring the system, and I would ask everyone to keep monitoring over the weekend. And if you have questions, concerns regarding your local capacity or resources or what your response would be, I would reach out to your regional leadership. And if you are and then reach out to them to make sure that you guys are all collaborating effectively. So that's where we currently stand. You'll expect to get some more general weather-based emails out this weekend. And if anything changes, like a spike in intensity or the system goes away completely, we'll be sure to communicate that as well, so we could either pay attention or stand down. I had a question regarding, do we know when the Texas Division of Emergency Management will start the H120 clock? And I'll explain what that is. At the Texas Division of Emergency Management at the State Operations Center in Austin, the state of Texas has what we call an H120 clock. that really means that we start counting down from when landfall will occur, and H120 represents 120 hours prior to landfall. And just like we have within the Red Cross, the state of Texas has a series of actions that take place at 120 hours prior to landfall, 96 hours prior to landfall, 72 all the way up to landfall, and then post-landfall. So the state of Texas, when they basically start their H120 clock, means that they have initiated and started planning regarding this system. I can say right now is the Texas Division of Emergency Management has not started this clock. Again, there are still a lot of variables at play, whether or not the system will form into anything and whether or not it will impact Texas. We are, having conversations with the state of Texas. They are aware, they're monitoring, they're doing some planning as well, but we're not officially starting the state of Texas response plan at this moment. That may change if the system does turn into a tropical depression, tropical storm, and takes a more concerted aim on the state of Texas over the weekend. But as of right now, they have not started the clock, but we are having those sort of general conversations. So at this point, we're just planning for what could potentially be a heavy rain event. We're not looking at a significant evacuation type event. Typically within the state of Texas, evacuation planning starts when we're anticipating a Category 2 or greater hurricane. Significant evacuations. Obviously, in Category 1 storms, you're going to have evacuations of coastal areas. But typically when we have a storm that looks like a Category 2 or greater, that's when the conversations will start regarding significant evacuations from coastal areas and to areas further inland. At this point, there are no models that predict that scenario, so we are obviously keeping an eye on it, but we're really planning more for a potential heavy rain event within the state of Texas. So again, thank you Eric for asking that question via the chat feature. If there are any other questions, concerns, comments, ask them via the chat feature or speak up on the call. So now we'll move into some of our updates. We recently, over the past few weeks, we opened the Disaster Field Supply Center. Now this is called the DFSC. It's one of 5 national warehouses that are strategically located around the country that basically is a large resource cache of non-perishable equipment, cots, blankets, cleanup supplies, and things like that. And there are 100 at this facility in Arlington, Texas. It was just opened. It's the largest DFSC within the nation. It was we relocated this warehouse that had been the previous DFSC had been in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And the facility has been moved to Arlington, Texas, and is now open and operational. The facility has enough equipment to basically take care of 100,000 individuals that have been displaced following a disaster. So it is a massive, massive warehouse, and is a great resource capability that we have in the state of Texas. Now, obviously, this facility is a national resource, so the supplies can be pulled out and go anywhere within the country. But it gives us, by having this facility within the state of Texas, it gives us a tactical advantage when responding to a disaster. In the past, whenever we had placed a supply, an order for supplies that would have to come out of the DFSC, it would have to travel, 600, 700 miles or greater before it would get to where it was needed within the state of Texas. So we're looking at maybe a 24-hour turnaround, if not greater, before we get some of those supplies. By having those supplies within the state of Texas and strategically located in Arlington, Texas, at the juncture between Interstate 20 and Interstate 35, so some key east-west corridors and some key north-south corridors, as well as near the juncture of Interstate 45, that really gives us a tactical advantage to be able to get supplies out, move them as quickly as possible, and if we have a disaster in the state of Texas, get them on the ground as soon as possible. So what you're going to see as we talk about this, and I'm going to, this will be something that we'll be working on over the next couple of months. We want to get you guys out some general talking points regarding the Disaster Field Supply Center that you can talk to your emergency management partners about this new capability within the state of Texas. I know that's already occurring in a number of areas, but we want to ensure that it's occurring really across the board, that our partners know that the investment that the American Red Cross has made, not only to the country, but also to the state of Texas by placing this field supply center here. And so it really is a great, it's a great advantage for us to have it in the state of Texas, because it not only increases our ability to move supplies, but it also signifies our capacity to our emergency management, our government partners, as well as our non-governmental partners as well. So I would encourage you guys to use this, put this in your back pocket as a resource to talk about with your partners, because it really is a great advantage for us here in the state. I had a question coming up regarding medical costs. Are there medical costs at the DFSC or other FNSS supplies? That's a good question, and Josh, I'm going to have to get back to you because I have had a conversation with the DFSC manager about getting a full inventory list of what they have in the facility and being able to share that out with you guys. I don't have that yet, but that is on the list of something that I'm making a note of it here just to, again, follow up with the manager there to get that inventory list so you guys can know exactly what our capabilities are so you can communicate that to emergency managers. I'm just making that note. Okay. So that's sort of where we stand with the Disaster Field Supply Center. And move on to some updates regarding disaster training. So disaster training, there's a lot of movement going on regarding disaster training right now. I'll tell you what we do know, and I'll tell you some of the areas that are still a little bit fuzzy. What has been released now is the new Basic Instructor Fundamentals. This is a web-based training. It's really going to take that self-study guide, that Fundamentals of Instruction and Facilitation self-study course, and replace that course. So that Instructor Fundamentals course is already out, but the Fundamentals of Instruction and Facilitation will be retired here in the next couple of days. So the new courses that are in development is a Basic Instructor Specialty Training. Now, this is a one-day in-person course that's going to replace DIST. You'll notice it says Basic Instructor Specialty Training, and I think the intention of this course is to really pull it outside of the disaster realm and really be just a basic instructor specialty training, teaching people the fundamentals of how to lead, how to teach a course, and obviously then your subject matter, disaster or some other program, will be able to fit into that. But it's really designed to be more comprehensive for the organization regarding instructor specialty training. So it's taken a little bit outside of the disaster realm, but it will be a requirement for individuals who want to become instructors. Now, the advanced instructor fundamentals, those individuals that are interested in teaching advanced courses, will now have an online course that will teach some of the more tenets regarding advanced instruction, motivation, teaching motivation, critical thinking skills, those types of things within some more of our advanced courses, and that will be a web-based course. Now, what came out a few weeks ago was National pushed out a disaster training recertification process that all of our disaster instructors would have to go through to basically make sure they're certified on these new courses and they're ready to move forward in our new model. That procedure, which we shared out, it was pushed out, was then pulled back and put back on hold by National. There were some questions that were posed by individuals at the regions and the divisions, and some pushback on some of those procedures. And so that has been put back on hold, has been taken out of release, and is now being worked on again. So this is where the gray area that I'm talking about. Right now, we don't know exactly what that recertification process will be. I'm confident in saying there will be some sort of recertification process that basically says that, okay, our instructors that were our instructors using the past model are now still instructors in this current model. What the steps or the procedures will be to take someone from, being a basic instructor now to a basic instructor tomorrow are still unclear. Those are still being worked out. But as soon as we get some draft of that procedures, I'll make sure to share those with the regions for comment and feedback so we can make sure that we're sharing our input with our national partners. But as of right now, I don't have a lot of information about that. Now, I did have a conversation with the director of training at National regarding this, and now that process is still out, but that doesn't mean that the courses are going to be delayed while that process is still coming out. So this is, again, where it gets kind of muddy. We're trying to figure out which direction, what path, and those types of things. But what I have been told is the official release date for the basic instructor specialty training, you'll be able to find on the exchange, is the end of October is when the BIST, the Basic Instructor Specialty Training, will come out. Now, that's the official release date. I am excited to say, from what I am hearing and the commitment that I've received from our national training partners is that they're actually ahead of schedule on that Basic Instructor Specialty Training, and they're anticipating that to come out by the end of September. So again, I'm not willing to stand on and say that that's written in stone, because we all know that things change within the organization. If you have a big disaster tomorrow, obviously things are going to get things get pushed back and delayed, because the individuals working on pushing that stuff out are then taken off of those projects and focus more on disaster relief. So right now, everything where it stands right now is this course is set to come out by the end of September. The exchange still says the end of October, but we've been told by the end of September we're anticipating to have the BIST course out. Again, what it will take and what the requirements are in order to teach the BIST course are still, we still don't have a lot of those points clarified, and we're working to clarify those, because I know we have some regions that are looking to hold DIST classes in October. And I would love to be able to get you guys to teach the BIST class if that's possible, so we don't have to have individuals come and retake the BIST class at a later time if that is what is called for out of our recertification process that's being developed. So this is what we have right now. I wanted to share where we currently are. As we have more information regarding this instructor training, we will share it, and I'll make sure to get that out as soon as I have it. We'll get that shared out to where we currently stand. I don't have a date regarding the online course for Advanced Instructor Fundamentals. One of the things we're working on right now is we're putting together, and I've been working with the regions to identify who our advanced instructors are, what courses they are currently teaching, and just to ensure that we have a good list of our advanced instructors moving into this as we talk about the recertification process. Had a question regarding the release of the new client casework training. That question we'll actually get to in an update, so I will provide that here in just a moment. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So any questions? I want to open this up because I know there might be some questions regarding disaster training. So if you want to ask via the chat feature, you can ask via the chat feature, but if you want to ask on the call right now, now's an opportunity to ask that course. And I have had a question that came up and said, did you say, meaning me, that existing instructors may have to complete the DIST classroom course? The DIST classroom course is going to be retired. What I'm saying right now is that our current instructors, and again, I don't know at this point if our current instructors will be required to take the BIST course. Again, I don't know that. And so that's, I think, the conversations that are happening in national headquarters, and that we're pushing back some of the feedback on the past reauthorization process. So I'm not making an assumption that they will. I'm saying I don't know if that will be part of the recertification process. But I know that the BIST course is going to replace the DIST course, the Disaster Instructor Specialty Training course. So once that Basic Instructor Specialty Training comes out, the DIST course will be retired. So, but we're going to wait to see exactly what that reauthorization procedure looks like. Yeah, was there a question?
In the process that was released a full back, there was a separate application that instructors would have to complete. Do you know if part of the pullback is because they want to, because all that information is theoretically a volunteer connection? So do you know if that's part of the plan to move that application process onto or fully from volunteer connections?
Yeah, I can say I don't know what the plan is because I think they just pulled it back and those plans are still currently being developed. But I do know that was one component of the feedback. We're always looking and we're trying to. One of the things that we're trying to do is to ensure that we're not, as much as possible, duplicating efforts. So if the information already exists, as you mentioned, in Volunteer Connection, why do we have to go and have a separate questionnaire or something like that? So yeah, that was part of the feedback. There were also some questions regarding the timeline and the process and overall communication strategy to get that out to our current instructors in a way that is most effective. And so there were a number of different pushback or questions regarding that the reauthorization process that were shared up with the national training team. But as of right now, I don't know. They're still looking at it. They just pulled it back, I think, last week or so, or the week before. And so they're still looking to see what that new process is. Now, they have said they will get a draft process out to us, and once I receive the draft process, we'll make sure that it gets shared with the region so you guys can provide feedback on that draft process. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Question regarding, has there been any discussion about cross-certification or equivalency with PHSS instructor status? Matt, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for that question, but I'm going to find out for you. So I think that's a great question. So I'm going to make a note of that. I will ask some of the folks, and I'll get back with you about that. And I'll also share that question back out with the regions as well, because I think that's a good one. Okay, so another question came in, is there any updates on the status/changes to the Emergency Services Program Management Training? So currently what we have right now is we've got 2 courses that focus really on leadership, and it's Emergency Services Program Manager Orientation, which is I believe it's a 2 or 3 day course that's held out in the field. And then we have the second component of that course, is the Emergency Services Program Manager Institute. Now that's a 4 or 5 day course. It's actually held up in DC. What I know about that right now is I'll tell you sort of what the direction and push is, especially being pushed by the division and by some of the regions, and we're trying to get this accomplished at national headquarters. I know there is a team that is looking over the Emergency Services Program Manager Orientation. And is working to update some of those. Because again, we recently taught the Emergency Services Program Manager Orientation down during the Leadership Institute, the Texas Leadership Institute in Houston, I believe was June or something like that. And a lot of the information is now out of date, and so we had to do a lot of modifications to it in order to make that work. And so I know there's some focus to get that orientation class updated. But there's also a focus on the organization right now, and this is sort of a strategic level, is to focus on general leadership skills amongst our workforce. And now the Institute was a way to do that. But the Institute really, if you look at our entire workforce, we held, I think, 1 or 2 institutes a year, and they had about 40, 50 people in them each. And so you're looking at maybe 100 people that are able to go through the Institute a year. And I know there is a push right now to find, I would say, more efficient and effective ways to impart leadership skills to our workforce, and not just to the 40 or 50 selected for the Institute, but to find ways and avenues to help foster leadership skills. Because one thing that we all know is a lot of our training is very tactical. It teaches you how to do jobs, how to fill out forms, and the technical aspects of those positions. But one of our things that we don't have consistently within our training program is overall leadership skills, critical thinking skills, mentoring skills, team engagement skills, those types of things that we don't really have an avenue right now in which to foster that within our workforce. So I can tell you that within our new concept of operations, there is going to be a greater emphasis and less on, a greater emphasis on leading people, making good, solid decisions at the local level, because we're really trying with our concept of operations to empower the individuals within the districts at the district level, which is your geographic area following a disaster, to be able to make appropriate decisions and lead and drive the operation from the local level, as opposed to it being driven from the headquarters level. And so that's going to require critical thinking skills, the ability to lead a team, the ability to really size up and make some key decisions. And we really need to foster that sort of leadership, those leadership skills. So what I'm saying right now is that process to really overhaul and change the culture in some aspects of how we train and how we impart knowledge to our workforce is a larger undertaking than simply updating one of our institutes or courses. So I can tell you right now there is the conversation to update and that is ongoing, to update the Emergency Services Program Manager orientation. I haven't seen a lot of information regarding updating to the Institute itself, because I think right now we're trying to identify methods for training our individuals at a wider expense on core leadership skills. So, we're working and seeing what FEMA has to offer, what some other professional organizations have to offer, and trying to find those types of skills to bring that all together to really build up those core competencies within our workforce as a whole. Let's see. I had a question regarding are we getting rid of the Certified Emergency Management Program? And I think we're referring to, I think that question, because the CEM program, the Certified Emergency Management Program, is not related to the Red Cross. That's through the International Association of Emergency Managers. That's a professional certification for emergency managers. We have within the Red Cross, the Certified Disaster Program Manager type qualifications and certifications. I have not heard that those are going away. So I know that, with all the changes that were going on within disaster cycle services right now and programs and rolling out reengineering, some things have basically been put on shelves, but I have not heard in any way that the disaster program manager certification is going away. And if I do hear anything like that, or if it's changing at all, I'll make sure to share that. Now, what I can tell you is that there is one of the things that's being focused on right now at the national level. We have a manager of leadership development at national headquarters, and he has put together a team that's focused on, we talked about this leadership, focused on leadership development, leadership mentoring. And so we are working right now to build out a scalable mentoring program that can be scalable at the territory level, at the region, division, and national headquarters for both blue and gray sky events. So it's going to be designed to be a simple, basic program along with training that will allow individuals, both volunteers and employees, to be engaged in this mentoring program as either someone being mentored or a mentor himself. So that's something that we are looking at, and I'm not quite sure exactly what the linkages are with the disaster program management certification, but I am actually on that mentoring team, so I'm going to bring that up just to see where we are going. So, okay, I had someone send me a question. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had this fear that I've been talking for the last, however long, and I've done that before. Put my phone on mute and hold a whole conference call before. So, okay, I'm going to move on from disaster training. I think I was going to go through here making sure I've answered questions that have come up. And again, if you ask a question that I don't have an answer to, I will run this down and try to find one for you. So, monthly sheltering leadership call. At national headquarters, there's a monthly call for managers and chiefs within the sheltering activity. And I know within the state of Texas, we've got shortfalls within our sheltering leadership, but we also have great obligations when it comes to sheltering within the state of Texas. And so I know, over the past year and even before that, we've had a big focus on recruiting and training and engaging shelter supervisors and individuals to become shelter supervisors in training. So we have asked, and we did get approval for the Texas supervisors, sheltering supervisors, and the sheltering supervisors in training to attend this national leadership sheltering call. It's on a monthly basis. It's on the third Thursday of each month. And so it's now open for supervisors and supervisors in training. And so here's the conference call information. I'll leave this up on the screen if you guys want to take it down. So share it with your folks. It's just, an opportunity for those individuals who are supervisors, who want to become sheltering supervisors, to get further engaged and to really engage at a leadership level and try to maybe learn and gain some knowledge from some of those calls. So I encourage, to invite your folks as you see fit, but it is open. So it is an opportunity to share and gain knowledge. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some of the upcoming information, some upcoming things that are going to come out in September, and I'll provide that as we go. So first one we've talked about, we are still on track to get that disaster responder information guide and deploy fundamental course out. So that's going to come out this September, so this month. In the next few weeks, we're anticipating that to be released. And so for all you workforce engagement and volunteer services folks, this will be a great tool that you'll be able to use to help get your disaster responders ready for deploying. We're also using the Oklahoma MARC case study, and that's a multi-agency resource center. In Texas, we had previously called it a joint assistance center, a JAC. I think in Austin we called it a flood assistance center, and North Texas has been called a voluntary organization disaster assistance center, a VODAC. The organizational standard that we are working to move to is MARC, a multi-agency resource center. Same thing in all locations, so a name is a name, but really the function is what's most important. And in addition to the Oklahoma MARC case study that's coming out in September, there also will be MARC planning guides that will help disaster program managers and regions identify steps to take in order to help build relationships in areas and help plan in blue sky events for opening a MARC during gray sky events. And so that's going to be coming out. So some of these case studies, so I really encourage you guys, once this comes out, to read through it. It's great resources. It's a great way for us to be able to provide services. And one of the key roles a service that the Red Cross can provide in our community in a leadership perspective is the convening of a multi-agency resource center. What we find in past operations is that the multi-agency resource centers are really left to the Red Cross to try to pull together and coordinate and bring together, and that is a great role for us, especially because we have the ability to really plan in advance and to rally our other NGO partners to really stand behind sort of this concept. But what we found is that the MARC concept, the JAC concept, whatever you want to call it, is most effective when your community leaders know about it and have already planned for establishing one of these facilities following a disaster. And so a lot of great resources that will be coming out regarding this, and it is a great service to the community that we found for most disasters, most large-scale disasters. So, sorry, I got a question. So, Josh, do you mind speaking up? You said the state of Texas has adopted MARC.
Hey, Neil, yeah, I saw an email from Anna Tangrady. She's the volunteer agency liaison for TDM, and the state of Texas decided to go with MARC because a bunch of other states have adopted it. So it looks like JAC will be phased out. Okay.
Well, hey, at least we're speaking the same tone. We decided the same thing. I think Texas has always been sort of our independent spirit. We had created new names for everything, and so I think as the other 49 states overruled us when we wanted to create a JAC or a VODAC or something like that. So, but I think that's great. And I had a question regarding the Deploy Fundamentals course will be developed. Is it going to be online or a classroom or a blended? I'm going to find that out for you as well. That was actually a question I had. I will find out if that's going to be an in-person course. My assumption and my belief is it's a web-based, but I don't want to go out and say that 100%. But let me run that down for you guys as well, and I'll send it out. So I'm going to take down some of these questions that have come up, and once I get answers to them, I'll send you guys out the questions as well as the answers in a general email back out to the group. Okay. So operations, some things that are coming out are concept of operations, incident reporting standards and procedures, and some associated job tools regarding that. This one has been, there's been a lot of documents, a lot of conversations regarding this. I've received a lot of feedback from individuals in the regions on this, and we are still, that feedback has all been shared with individuals, and we're still having offline conversations to really, again, push that feedback that you guys had. It was great feedback. I don't have an exact date for when this will come out. It's scheduled to come out in September, but there are still conversations ongoing regarding those feedback and things like that. So if it does come out in September, I would expect it to come out in late September. But again, all of these are still estimates. This is when it's planned to come out, but as we've seen, things either come out sometimes a little early, sometimes a little bit later, depending upon circumstances regarding, what's going on in the organization, what's going on within some of these document review processes as well. So some additional information, we also have some Shelter Inject's job tools. These are some Inject job tools that are designed to help spur conversations within your local area regarding how to operate shelters. And we still have our feeding procurement with Southern Baptists. It's going to be a great, especially for our mass care folks in the state of Texas, since we rely on the Southern Baptists for a significant amount of activity regarding feeding. And then staff wellness standards and procedures. So this will be our base document for staff wellness. That is still expected to come out in September. And then some RDPO key elements of a successful disaster program. So this will be coming out. Will really give sort of the region's chief disaster leader information regarding some key elements of a successful disaster program, and that will obviously assist the entire region. So some October information. This comes back to that Recover Casework and Recovery Planning course. There, just like we said before, this class was scheduled to come out, I believe, in either August or September. It's been pushed back till after October 15th. There's a number of things that are being worked on in this course right now. It is such a vital course for what we are engaged in as an organization that we want to make sure it's done right. And so this is where, when you see courses get pushed back, it's typically as a result of feedback that's come back from the field during review processes. So something goes out, it's not quite right, they've got to go and tweak it. And so that is what is happening. One of the things that's happening with this course. So it's still coming out. It's just going to come out right now until no sooner than October 15th, but most likely until a little bit after that as well. Now, what you're going to see in the casework course is obviously our new case sort of procedures and things like that in training, but also you're going to see in this is sort of we're going to be aligning our casework monitoring process into sort of our new standards and procedures and things like that. And so this is really going to refine it, bring it all to home when it comes to how we operate casework with CAS 2.0 and other types of things. And so this will really bring it and pull it all together. Okay. So some other updates that I want to give you guys. I don't have some timelines on this, but I thought they were important tools and I wanted to share them with you all. That we're currently under development right now a Disaster Program Manager Manual. And this is for our disaster program managers. So it's a manual that talks about, that really serves as a guide to help you all build successful programs within your territories. This manual is written. It's in its final stages of technical review within the project team right now. We've got a number of people from the state of Texas that are serving on this team, and both disaster program managers and individuals from the regions. So I'm excited that we've had that level of input from the individuals that are actually going to be working with this program manager manual. Once it goes through sort of its first review internally, it will be sent out, and we will be looking for some individuals to provide some feedback at a local level on the disaster program manager manual. I want to ensure that once this comes out, that this document really is intended to do what it's designed to do, which is provide the disaster program managers and territory leadership volunteers with a guide on what the things you need to do in order to build a successful program. So if it does that, then this is going to be a great resource for disaster program managers, but we want to make sure that it actually does what it's intended to do. And there is another DRO tool that I wanted to share with you. Again, this is still in draft format. It's going to be coming out. I don't have a date for it. But it's a really great, I had an opportunity last week to play around with it and see it. It's a great tool that will help regions plan for disasters right after they happen. So what it is, it's an initial planning tool that's designed to be used by regions immediately followed within the first 24 hours of a disaster relief operation. So what it is amassed all of our information that's in DSARS, all of our disaster information, and put it into a tool. And what this tool does is, let's say you're in you're a region in Texas, you've been impacted by a disaster that has, and your preliminary damage assessment says that you have 100 homes that may have major or destroyed damage, and it'll be 100 homes that have minor affected damage. Again, PDA, very rough numbers. You put that number, it basically gives you a data entry point that says where in the country you are. So you're in Texas, what level of disaster do you think you have? Do you think you're going to have a level 3, a level 2, that sort of thing? And then what's some basic information regarding the disaster that you're expected to have within the first 24 hours? Some PDA information, things like that. What you do is then it will pull out all of our historical information that's been in CAS, and through some formulas, you'll basically click the enter button, and it will give you some planning steps. Again, it's not telling you how many people you're going to need or how much money the operation is going to cost or things like that. It will give you some planning information by hazard. So if you've had a tornado, it'll say, okay, based on past historical information for disasters in your area, this is the recommended minimum number of volunteers that you'll need, the mid-range number, and the maximum number of volunteers that you'll need. Same thing for this is the minimum cost, the maximum cost, that sort of thing. So it'll give it on a range of criteria. Again, you're not stuck and tied to these numbers, but it will help you from an initial planning perspective to get grips on what you really think you're going to need for the disaster without shooting in the dark. So it's just a tool that's really easy, really simple. I mean, I was able to, with some made-up information, was able to do it within 30 seconds, put the information in, and it feeds you out some recommendations. Again, you're not tied to it. It's just designed to help you as a leader identify what your requirements are going to be. And it's for level 2 operations all the way up to level 7 operations that we can use that tool for. So when that comes out, I will make sure to get that out. And I was asked what the name of this tool was. I'm going to have to run that down because I had it and I still have it. But I don't want to go searching through my computer right now, but I'll find that for you. I think it's called a DRO budget tool or something like that, but it does more than just budgets. Let's see. Is there any attempt for the new guidance to link everything together in one neat package like the ARC 3000 series? When all these new documents come out, they will be located on the Exchange in sort of their topic hubs. So as at this point, I don't have any information that says that we're going to be going similar down the route of our prepackaged like ARC 3000 series, but they will all be located on the topic hub because I absolutely understand and I agree with you. Things do look piecemeal right now, but as things come out, they will all be located in those topic hubs so you can see them all in one location. Had another question regarding what is the plan for rolling out the new client casework class in our region. That's something regarding the regional plans for rolling this course out. Once the course is released, that's something that will have to be developed at a regional level for how to roll that class out. But once the class is released and the new client casework class is retired, then you'll obviously can't teach the old casework class anymore. You'll have to use that new class, but that will have to be developed on a region by region basis. And let's see, any update on when the new DRC format will become available? That was actually on my agenda to do today, was to ask that question again. The last answer that I received is that the new DRC format will come out at the end of September. I want to confirm that is still accurate. Again, this will be the new format will come out. It will be linked and it will be on SharePoint. You won't have to use an Excel document anymore. But the first data reporting requirements won't be until the 1st of January. We're going to a semi-annual data reporting requirement for the DRCF, but I'm gonna follow that up just to make sure the September time frame is still accurate. Okay, so at this point, Julia, are you on the line, and would you give us an update on the National Mass Care exercise?
I am on the line. Thanks, Neil.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. Basically, the National Mass Care exercise is an exercise that's been going on for the last 3 years in the state of Florida. And this year was the first year that it was ever going to be held outside of the state of Florida, and it was going to be hosted by California. California backed out and said that they needed to wait a little bit longer, so Texas stepped in and said, we would love to do the National Mass Care exercise in 2015. So we are looking at participating in June. The dates right now are the 8th to the 11th. And what this has done in Florida in the past is primarily focused on an event where the state of Florida is overwhelmed with mass care needs and has to bring in experts in sheltering, feeding, reunification, bulk distribution, in some of these different areas related to mass care, and have them be members of a task force to do forward planning for each of those areas. So Texas is looking to do something similar. At this point, because they just accepted, this massive undertaking, some things are still a little bit up in the air in terms of, which objectives we're going to be working on and things of that nature. But at this point, they have committed to sheltering, reunification, and feeding. Within Texas, we currently only have a feeding task force that meets regularly. We just formed a shelter task force and started some of those conversations going on within the state. But of course, what they have done historically in Florida is very different than what we do day to day in Texas. So trying to kind of merge what Florida has proposed as a national best practice and model with what we do in Texas, or looking at validating what they have done in Florida. So those are some of the discussions that are going on right now at kind of a state and federal level, but bringing it to what we as Red Cross can do to help with the exercise. We're going to have the opportunity to drive the exercise in terms of shelter numbers. So the scenario, which continues to evolve, depending on, of course, what objective we're looking to really test, at this point is a massive earthquake scenario that displaces about 1.2 million people. And a number of those folks are going to be looking to come to Texas through our host state agreement. So what we're going to be asked to do on day one is assess how many shelters we can open and operate in, a 12-hour period and a 24-hour period, for example. So what we've kind of discussed is doing actual call downs to facilities, call downs to volunteers, or whatever process your chapter is using, to kind of validate the numbers that we think that we will be able to provide. So that a lot of our numbers are going to, of course, drive what the state of Texas does in this exercise. So our participation is really important. It's really an exciting opportunity to participate in this national exercise and for our chapters and regions to be the ones that are driving a lot of the play. So, I think we're really, really excited about the opportunity. Currently, we are moving the exercise and training capability work group to kind of be the lead on developing what the Red Cross exercise and participation in play is going to look like. So as I said, they're really just in this initial discussions, and I just kind of wanted to, share some of the ideas that are being bounced around at this point with you all. If you do have ideas, suggestions, things like that, I'd love to get you moved in with that exercise capability work group so that they can start to hold together what this is actually going to look like on our side. And one of the interesting things that the state of Texas has decided to do is they are calling this a BYOE. So bring your own exercise. All of the agencies and local jurisdictions are going to be invited to participate, but they are expected to kind of develop their own exercise and then plug in with a larger play. Because we're such a driving force for many of the decisions that other agencies will be making, of course our integration is key, and that's why, 10 months in advance of the exercise, it's time for us to buckle down and get our heads wrapped around how we're going to be participating and gathering the information that we need. So some of the things that we might potentially look at might be some of the event-based volunteer plans that are being developed. We might look at, there's a FROST team, which is currently, they have their leadership all around the nation, but they actually can reach out to shelters and get shelter numbers and put those not just in NSS, but also in the state WOC boards. So, there's some opportunity there that we might test some of those systems. This is going to be a great opportunity for our Emergency Operations Center liaisons to be engaged. A lot of the district coordinators for Texas Department of Emergency Management have said that they would like to participate and that they will be activating their DEC. So that's an opportunity for potentially we may even see some local jurisdictions activating their EOCs. This is going to be a great big exercise for them to varying levels depending on the jurisdiction. I just wanted to kind of share some of the initial information with everyone, and like I say, if you're interested, you can send me an email, or if you have questions right now, by all means, but I can get you looped in with that exercise. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. And we did have a question that was asked in the chat feature. It says, does the National Mass Care Exercise replace the State Mass Care Exercise? And Julia, do you want to answer that, or I can answer it?
Oh, I was going to say, you know, we anticipate the two working simultaneously this year. Dates are pretty much in line with the dates that we utilized last year, so I think it's an easy fit. So I guess replace or, you know, function simultaneously would be my response to Neil. Yeah,
I think absolutely the same. You know, one thing that we are looking at, you know, we've had these conversations is, you know, the National Mass Care Exercise is really, it's more functionally based as opposed to full-scale open and operating shelters. So, you know, if we're expected to, you know, if the scenario is that we have to, you know, find shelter spaces for 1.2 million people, there is no expectation that that you guys go out and start opening shelters for 1.2 million people. You know, my take on it is that, you know, we will have some components that we will have to build to play in with the state and with the federal partners. But, you know, the regions can determine, you know, how deeply do they want to go out. If you guys want to actually go out and open up shelters, that's more than fine. If you want to simulate the information, that's more than fine too. So, you know, we know it's going to be a busy year regarding disaster reengineering and new information coming out. So we want to sort of put you guys in the driving seat when it comes to the level of your commitment and activity at your local region. But there will be, obviously, we're going to have to do call downs and find people and simulate some of the activity. But whether or not you push it more towards a full scale exercise is really going to be a decision that you guys can make internally. And Julia, a question that came through. Is the National Mass Care Exercise a national level exercise with briefings all the way up to the president?
In the past, FEMA national leadership has deployed into Florida rather than, you know, activating the NRCC, the National Response Center, anything along those lines. It does sound like they are talking about having this be more of a national exercise than it has been in the past. Again, we're in the very beginning stages of the conversation, so I don't want to, you know, say something and then have to retract it. But they have said that they will have more activity in DC this year than they have had in the past.
Okay, great. And final question I have on the chat feature, Julia, can you provide the best contact info for the State Feeding and Sheltering Task Force?
Me?
Yeah. Oh, it's you. Call Julia for anything, everything, anytime.
Yeah, right now I would be your best point of contact.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, Julia. Appreciate the information.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're now at an open forum. I've got 11:02. I understand people have to drop off, but you know, I'm going to stay here as long as you guys have questions. So now's an opportunity. Questions that you may have regarding anything, so just ask. Okay, so no questions at this time. So thank you all very much and have a great weekend.